Today, I want to share with you the major issues that marine animals are facing in captivity, specifically Marineland in Niagara Falls. Marineland has been around since 1961 when former owner John Holler opened up a small park that started with sea lions. Over time, the park grew to what it is today, where it houses hundreds of animals both on land and in water. Today, though, we are going to focus on the marine animals. Marine mammals such as dolphins, whales, and porpoises are the main attraction at the park. But unfortunately, these animals do not belong in this environment. There has been extensive research to show what these animals require, and being in this environment does not meet these requirements. It is inevitable that these animals will die eventually, but it is proven that these animals are dying prematurely at Marineland. There are a few major factors why. Overall, quality of life is very poor. These animals will swim hundreds of miles a day in the ocean and dive to deep depths. Being in a tank that is essentially a large pool makes this impossible. Imagine being stuck in a bathtub for the rest of your life. How would you feel? How would your quality of life be? When living in the wild, these animals hunt daily and live in huge family groups. In captivity, they're thrown a bucket of fish to eat. This doesn't give them any enrichment when being fed, nor is it natural at all. Also, in captivity, these animals are either housed alone or housed in a tank with animals that they may have never interacted with in the wild. There has been studies that show orcas in different pods have different languages. This is a factor to consider when there is aggression shown between these animals. They are unable to communicate with each other, so of course something's going to go wrong. Orcas are extremely social animals and do not do well when isolated. Currently, Kiska is the only orca housed at Marineland. She has outlived all 5 of her babies, none of which have lived past the age of 6. Most of their deaths were due to some sort of illness or infection. Marineland seems to be very vague about the cause of death of their animals. Why? What are they hiding? In 2011, SeaWorld sued Marineland to have a whale that was on loan to them returned. Ikeika was born at SeaWorld in 2002. He was sent to Marineland for breeding purposes when he was 8 years old. Kiska and Ikeika did not get along. Ikeika showed aggression towards Kiska. This can link back to orcas having different languages and ways of communicating. Ikeika was born in captivity and separated from his mother at a very early age, so he was probably never able to learn the proper ways of communicating. SeaWorld demanded the return of Ikeika, stating that his well-being was at risk, and his health had declined since he had arrived at Marineland. The health of his teeth had worsened since being there, as well as his aggression, which I find extremely ironic, as SeaWorld is known to see these exact issues in their animals who are living there. If SeaWorld, who themselves are not exactly the epitome of marine animal care, is seeing issues with how Marineland cares for their animals, how bad is Marineland? Once Ikeika was removed from Marineland, it left Kiska the only orca residing there. Her solidarity is one of the many things that is wrong with her living conditions. Kiska's dorsal fin has some structural damage, which is a very common issue in captive adult orcas, but has only been seen in less than 1% of orcas in the wild. The exact cause of this is not known, but it is certainly due to their health being compromised in some way. This may be because of injury, illness, etc. Another characteristic seen in Kiska is that there is a slight depression in the area of her blowhole. This is most likely to her being emaciated. Another obvious health issue for Kiska is her teeth. Many of her teeth are worn down to the gums or worn down to small nubs. In captivity, this is usually caused by chewing on hard surfaces such as metal bars, concrete edges, and other surfaces. Kiska has shown signs of sunburn due to the pools not going deep and having no overhead protection. There's even a part of her pool that her whole body doesn't even completely submerge. There's no trees or awning to help her avoid the sunlight. Kiska also shows signs of distress, like rubbing against the walls to the point where her skin is scraped and raw. She is currently given no enrichment. She is simply left to float in a pool for 24 hours a day. She has very little human interaction. Her main interaction with the workers is when she gets fed and is thrown fish. There is nothing done to make her hunt for her food. She is simply given fish with a couple pats and the staff moves on. Like I mentioned before, she is completely alone in her tank. At one time, she was given access to the beluga tank that is located beside her, but this changed. We do not know why, but most likely there was aggression between the 2 different species. So, what can the public do to help? Well, fortunately, the Government of Canada has recently passed the bill S-203, also known as the Free Willy Bill. The bill was voted by the majority to ban the captivity and breeding of all whales, dolphins, and porpoises. This bill also bans the trade, breeding, or collecting of any of this mammal's reproductive specimens such as sperm or embryos. In addition to that, the bill bans the use of these animals for any sort of entertainment purposes, as was done at Marineland, where they used to put on shows showing off the dolphins or whales' trained tricks and skills, such as making the dolphin wave to the crowd. This is cruelty and abuse to those mammals, as this is not considered natural behavior to them, and therefore providing them with a very poor quality of life. Now, as far as we are concerned, Marineland has stopped these shows with whales and dolphins doing their tricks, but if you look closely on the website, they still advertise animal education shows featuring dolphins and belugas. They claim these education shows are to help educate the public about these animals, but still features them. What is really happening in those shows? They still must be forcing these animals to do things they wouldn't do in a natural environment. If you are caught using an animal for entertainment purposes, you will receive a fine of up to $200,000. This bill is not yet a law, but with the public's help, we can change that. When this bill came into action, the public seemed thrilled, as this is a huge step towards getting rid of marine mammals in captivity, but there's still so much more you can do. I know you may wonder, what could you possibly do to help these animals? Educate the public. You may not be a marine biologist, but it doesn't take a scientist to understand that these animals do not belong in a tank. Share with your friends and family how wrong this is. Don't take your children to Marineland. Educate your children early on that these animals do not belong in tanks. They belong in the ocean. Get it in their head early on that this is wrong. Protest Marineland. There has been protesting going on for years, but we can never have enough. Show the world that this is not right. Avoid going to Marineland. Support organizations that advocate for the freedom of captive mammals. You can post reviews on their website or post reviews on Google. Under no circumstances have we ever seen a benefit to keeping these large, beautiful animals in these tanks. People have fought it, saying we're educating the public. Unlike zoos, who can do positive things for animals who are endangered, places like Marineland do nothing of this nature. They rip these animals away from the ocean and put them in what is essentially a swimming pool to swim in circles for the rest of their life. They can do a couple of flips for the audience and get some fish. This is not a natural life for them. Their lives are cut short because they simply cannot thrive in these conditions. We can't do this on our own. We need the public's voice. While the ban has made a huge difference and is an awesome step in the right direction, there's still so much more we can do. Educate.